set that council meeting for June 14th. And also, immediately following the meeting, there will be a parking committee presentation or hearing with respect to various RFPs that are provided. That will be following the meeting. We're going to try to keep the meeting, the regular council meeting, rather brief and moving along. Please rise for the pledge. Since it is Black Day.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilman Engstrom?
Here.
Councilman Zipprich?
Here.
Councilwoman Horgan? Here. Councilwoman Schwabenbauer? Here. Councilman Taylor?
Here.
Councilman Whalen?
Here. Thank you. Sunshine statement, please.
Let the minutes reflect that in compliance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meetings Act, the notice of this meeting has been provided by notifying the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, and the Star Ledger by placing a notice on the bulletin board and filing same with the Borough Clerk on January 1, 2017.
Again, Councilman Zipprich reminded me a few seconds ago that sometimes when we are faced with challenges, we always begin with a moment of silence. And unfortunately, we live in a world where there are constant challenges almost at every council meeting. So let us pause to remember, obviously, the victims in the shooting early this morning in Virginia, the other incident in San Francisco, the horrific fire in London 2 nights ago, and indeed all people of goodwill facing challenges. And unfortunately, the shooting incidents, this municipality is strongly on record as begging the national leadership to adopt reasonable gun control once and for all. Workshop. We have a couple of items we're going to go through right away. First time is part-time code inspectors from the Code Enforcement Office. This is at the recommendation of the Administration and Personnel Committee. We've had a number of retirees that have worked for us for a number of years, and consequently that department is now experiencing a lack of personnel. So the thought was that we would we have advertised for part-time certified code enforcement officers, and they would be working on a part-time basis, and the result would be obviously less of a fiscal burden on the municipality, and because they would be part-time, they would not be in a position to have to contribute to their various other entitlements. And I believe that that is the consensus of the recommendation from personnel, and unless there's any objection to members of the council to proceed with that in terms of the resolution that we added. They've been all vetted out. They are all they're qualified. They know the town, and they're certified. Okay, so we'll add that. It's in the resolution. The resolution is there. Secondly, a lot of municipalities have moved forward in terms of having a Citizens Animal Welfare Advisory Committee, and again, that does not supplement, replace, or in any way interfere with the Animal Control Office, which is a statutory position that municipalities must have. The Animal Control Office does animal cruelty things, but this is more of an educational as well as representative aspect, because basically 1/4 of our population, or 1/3, has pets. We make certain recommendations in terms of events for families, inclusive of pets, make recommendations to our business community, and get the word out. It would be a citizen-based committee, and if any members of the public are interested, submit your names to the clerk, and we hope to make the appointment as quickly as possible. Again, I think it's a good committee to be on, and speaks for those who can't speak for themselves. Any objection to that? Okay. Next, I think will be a little bit more controversial, but however, we have to move out of the dark ages and start moving to the modern century. And most municipalities that are forward-looking have adopted once and for all a sale, retail sale of puppy mills and kitten mills emanating from puppy kitten mills. As a matter of fact, even the County of Monmouth adopted that resolution. Manalapan in our own county has adopted it, which is one of our largest municipalities. Matawan has last week. A number of other towns have done so. I know Long Branch, rather Asbury and a few others. So what this would do, it does not preclude anybody from buying any designer puppies or kittens from a legitimate recognized breeder. It would curtail retail by pet stores of pets coming from puppy mills. The general model that has been adopted in the country, and again, we have to get beyond dollars and cents and start thinking about what's right in our society, is the 5 largest nationwide stores that cater to pets refuse to sell from puppy mills. They only will sell pets, namely kittens and dogs, from humane societies and from shelters, because there's certainly plenty of them there, and they will permit the shelters to sell them. And so all the 5 largest retailers have a policy of banning it. Now, I know somebody's going to say, or some of you are going to say, we already have a store that sells puppies and kittens. One of the options we can consider, although I'm not too fond of it, but I'll go along with the council's determination, is that there could be essentially a grandfather clause that excludes that, which would prevent future ones from coming into town. So that's an option that the council to proceed. So I think we should move forward. I think it's a legitimate issue. All you have to do is read the reports by the Humane Society, as well as the American Association for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. And these are not something that these events are not things that are happening thousands of miles away. They're essentially in our own communities, which prompted the county actually to move forward and offer a county-wide ban for establishments where the county has jurisdiction. Obviously, the county doesn't have jurisdiction in individual towns. We're guided by an ordinance. So if the council's is okay with it, we can move forward on either the ordinance that gives a grandfather clause in for an existing establishment, which is only one, or bans it altogether. Thoughts?
Is this something we want to take action on tonight, or is it
No,
something
that
we
you
should
can
roll
bring it up
over?
in the workshop, yeah.
I'd like to, I am definitely opposed to puppy mills, obviously. And I think there may be reputable breeders out there, so I think it may come down to how we define puppy mill and how we monitor
That would be contained in those ordinances. They have to be certified as being from a breeder, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I need to study this more.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it at all, but I want to make sure I understand it and have it clear on definitions.
The model ordinances can come from the United States Humane Society, and frankly, your concerns would be addressed with those.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Okay, so move forward with that. Okay, we can take this off. It's not really a workshop. The Parks and Rec is going to be working on a couple of extra nights for strollers, and we don't have too much to do tonight. And Gilda Rogers, there's going to be an additional resolution. She is being honored, I believe, Monday evening, so that's the last minute addition. There's a resolution thanking her for her many interests in the public. And it is Monday night, isn't it? Oh, it was, okay, it was, okay. So it codifies our resolution. And DOT resolution, DOT has asked us to add an additional resolution with respect to the ramp on East Bergen, because we have to extend it. And that comes from DOT, came at the last minute, so that'll be added unless there's objections. Okay?
Yeah, Mayor, just on that East Bergen Place project, that was something that had been applied for 2 years ago, so we just need to make sure that we
It's extended, yeah.
that deadline.
That's all it is. Okay. Approval of the minutes, May 24th. Motion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? For appointments, we have 3 vacancies that are actually some vacancies, and so we're following the tradition and moving people within the planning board. It would be my desire to appoint Linda Cohn from current alternate to class 6. She is the senior member, and Juanita Lewis from from alternate 2 to alternate 1, so she moves up, and Michael Ballard from alternate number 2 from mayor's alternate to alternate number 2. Okay. Reports of Mayor Council Committee members. Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank everybody involved in the Memorial Day ceremony, including the Department of Public Works, community groups, the clergy, the scouts, the middle school choir, police, fire, and the Elks, and including special guest Sergeant Major Scott Lewis, who did a wonderful job speaking to the crowd. Congrats to all those who competed in the Council 5K program last night. The group trained with Charlie from Parks and Rec and ran one of their first 5Ks last night in the Asbury Park 501 5K. Summer camp signups are underway, and the summer series lineup of jazz artists and movies will be released early next week. So we appreciate everybody who sponsored, and we'll look forward to the summer events. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed.
Thanks, Mayor. As you mentioned earlier, our hearts go out to those lost in the apartment building fire in West London early this morning, as well as all those injured and shot this morning in Virginia during the Republicans versus Democrats charity baseball game practice. Quite alarming to have that happen in the nation's capital. It is LGBT Pride Month. On a happier note, the Pride flag is flying again this year, compliments of 077Q1, the Gay Leaders Association. Mayor and I, I'm sure, will thank each and every one of them for their donation, and we offer as we offer the annual Pride Proclamation tonight for this month-long celebration. The DPW committee will meet next Wednesday. I also wanted to congratulate publicly Boy Scout Troop 67 on their newest Eagle Scout, Tommy Matuzik. It was an honor to present the certificate of achievement to him on behalf of the mayor last Sunday at St. Anthony's. And also congratulations to Sean Murphy, who's being recognized tonight. He is RBR's highest-ranking senior member of the class of 2017 at RBR. He and his parents, Sean and Nancy, were delighted when I presented the resolution on behalf of the mayor and council at the RBR award ceremony last Thursday. That's all I have.
Thank you. Kathy.
I do have a letter from the Friends of the Red Bank Public Library addressed to the mayor and council to thank us for the participating in the 80th anniversary. And also they wanted to give us a little information about the bookmarks contest that they have. Children from every school participated, and the theme this year was I Spy My Favorite Thing in Red Bank. And the top 5 responses were Strallo's Lighthouse, the Count Basie Fields, Riverside Gardens Park, the Red Bank Public Library, Marine Park, and Count Basie Theater came in as a tie. Others that were honorable mentions went to Elsie's, Yestercades, the YMCA, Fins and Feathers, Juanitos, a whole array of different places here in Red Bank. Clucky Chicken came in as well. They also, a few students said that their favorite thing in Red Bank was my house, friendship, my dog, outside, and just everywhere. Every school participated, and every school was mentioned as a favorite thing, so that's good to know as well. Each year the submission, the Red Bank Public Library receives submissions, and the Women's Club of Red Bank underwrites the printing of the bookmarks. And what they do is they make them into bookmarks, and you can get these at the Red Bank Public Library, or you can get them here. Or Elizabeth, is this for all of us? This is for all of us. Okay, so I'll pass this out to the council. But please go to the library and get your bookmarks. It's really great the way the kids. Some of them are just so very, very talented, and I know they appreciate your picking them up. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Mike.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Can everyone hear this? Is this on? A couple reports quickly. The police, or K-9 unit Hunter, had a big drug bust over the weekend, a couple days ago. They seized about 500 doses of heroin. Given the epidemic that we live in today, we don't know how many lives it would have saved, but it just shows the usefulness and the resource that we use in Red Bank, having a K-9 unit. So congratulations to the police department and our K-9 Hunter. Also, we have K-9 Echo, who just graduated from K-9 school, and we use next week on the streets in Red Bank, so we couldn't be more excited about that. Also, from the fire front, there was a fire in Little Silver, and Red Bank Fire Department responded and stood on standby for Little Silver while Little Silver responded to that call. So I want to thank the fire companies in Red Bank who went to Little Silver and spent the hours of that day standing by for the residents. It just shows that different communities and different towns can work together to support each other through difficult times. Little Silver did respond very well, and the fire was put out with no additional harm. Also, I just want to make one quick point. I know Mike Ballard and Juanita Lewis will be a great addition to the planning board, but I just want to give a quick shout out to Linda Cohen. I got to work with her over the last 2 years on the planning board, and your vision for Red Bank is something that I admire and something that I look forward to continue working with you. So congratulations on becoming a full member. And lastly, the mayor mentioned tonight we have the parking presentations following the council meeting. And I just want to make a quick remark about that because I know that there's some newer faces in the audience, just to kind of give a little layout of what's to happen and the procedure. So we have an opportunity here tonight. So at the end of last year, the governing body decided to put out an RFP, and we had 5 respondents. So we had 5 developers who decided to use their time, energy, and resources to create a project and a proposal that they would like to see their vision happen for Red Bank. That decision was unanimously voted on by the council to go down that RFP route. So tonight we'll be seeing those proposals and presentations, and I think it's an important part of the process. And the first step of the process is allowing the public to hear from the developers themselves. So please stick around. It'll start after the council meeting. There's forms that will be on the table. There's an email that also will go out live tomorrow at noon, and the email is whitestreet@redbanknj.org for people to give their comments, their concerns. And again, this is the start of the process. These proposals can be amended, they can be changed, they can be negotiated. And I want to thank the mayor and some of the council for keeping that open mind and allowing us to hear the comments from the public and from the business community. And I look forward to the beginning. Thank you.
Mark. Thank you, Mayor. I don't have a code committee report. We have a meeting scheduled for next week. The Environmental Commission is full steam ahead for our Sustainable Jersey recertification. We met the application deadline June 4th, and we have a number of projects we're currently working on to get us not only to bronze status, but hopefully to silver status, which would be an improvement over our previous certification effort. So we're full steam ahead.
Linda.
Thank you. Over the next 2 weeks, Eugenia Stanley and I will be meeting with the auditor to go through the audit results for the prior year and report on them at the next council meeting. And the second thing is we are waiting for final confirmation from the U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife, but it looks good for a grant that we applied for last year. We had applied for money to build a transient dock down by the marina so we could build essentially a dock and dine facility. So as I say, once we get that final confirmation, it looks like we may be getting in the range of $90,000 to $100,000 that we could use.
What was that? Dock and dine?
Yeah, it was a transient dock.
I understand there was some discussion about that, but I think we as a council ought to really have a discussion. How much are we asked to contribute on that?
Oh, that's not a magic grant.
Are we sure about that?
Yeah,
When did that change?
it's not a magic grant.
Okay. We just all need some information on it because the last time they were looking for an actual grant. Okay. Thanks.
This is through the U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife, so that may have been a different one.
It was, yeah. But it's not co-linked to that, to the previous one. Thank you. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, communications and petitions. Request from Sam Gregg for membership in Napa Cinco de Mayo.
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Request from Daniel Johnson for membership of the First Aid Motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Special events recommended for approval. Request from Red Bank Rock Walk to have their 37th annual walk on October 15th from 2:30 to 4. Motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Request from Life Fest Inside to participate in the 6th annual Worldwide Dance for Kindness. To close Broad Street from White Street to Front Street from 12 noon to 2 on November 12th. Motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Are there any members of the public who have any comments on any resolutions or ordinances? And there is one change. Resolution 17-132 is off the agenda. That had previously been acted upon in March of 2017, so that's not on. Okay, other than that, any members have any comments or questions other than the parking issue? That'll be after the council meeting on any ordinances or resolutions. Mr. Levetti, you had your hand up. Was that for my
Mayor,
comment?
it was for 17-132. I don't recall that discussion taking place, but I haven't come to the meeting. So
March 8th.
March 8th.
Yeah, there was a previous resolution.
It was approved and the check was dispersed? Okay, that was about right.
Thank you. Okay, motion to close.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Okay, there's one ordinance, which is ordinance 2017-18, which is an ordinance that establishes the salaries and wages of officials and employees of the Borough of Red Bank. That is only on for introduction. Motion to introduce.
Mayor, this is just amending the ranges. It doesn't establish salaries, it's just amending.
Yeah, but it is a change, yeah.
Yes.
And it increases the ranges, correct?
Yes.
That were previously established.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second. Roll call?
Councilman Yingstrom?
Yes.
Councilman Zipperich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Horgan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schwabenbauer?
Yes.
Councilman Taylor?
Yes.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Okay, the ordinance is introduced, public hearing, when? June what? June 28th at 6:30 PM is the public hearing. Ordinance 2017-17 is actually on for second or public hearing and final adoption. It's an ordinance that amends Chapter 680 regarding vehicles and traffic and creates a stop intersection at one of our municipal lots, section 12 place. Any members of the public wish to be heard on this? If not, motion to close.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Yingstrom?
Yes.
Councilman Zipperich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Horgan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schwabenbauer?
Yes.
Councilman Taylor?
Yes.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes, I just want to quickly thank George for bringing that up to us. Thank you, that's a good move.
Ordinance is adopted. Resolution 17-125 through and including 17-137, unless there is a specific request from members of the council to query or pull one of those out, they can be placed on consent. Is there? Okay. Motion to adopt 17-125 through and including 17-137.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution 17-131 is a resolution that authorizes a place-to-place expansion of premises with respect to their plenary retail consumption license for oil, wine, and spirits, also known as Red Bank by right. Are there any members of the public who wish to be heard on this expansion of the ABC license? If not, motion to adopt. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 17-133 is a resolution authorizing tax credits or refunds totaling $250 due to an overpayment by a property owner. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Resolution 17138 is the additional resolution I spoke of earlier that, if approved, will appoint 3 part-time code officers, namely John Zamanis as a part-time code inspector, Douglas Fruit as a part-time fire inspector, and Michael Daly as a part-time fire inspector. Motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 139 is a resolution to congratulate and commend Gilda Rogers on receiving the 7th annual Earl Thomas Easley Humanitarian Award. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Resolution 17140 is a resolution to extend the previous grant application executed grant contract with respect to NJDOT for East Bergen Place project. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we also, no more resolutions, ma'am? We have one proclamation, and that is whereas the former Stonewall Inn in New York City, a public establishment frequented by members of the gay community, was the site of the June 27, 1969 uprising that sparked the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender civil rights movement. Whereas the Borough of Red Bank fosters the value and importance of diversity among its citizens and employees, and acknowledging that they cut across ethnic, cultural, racial, gender identity, and sexual orientation boundaries. And whereas the Borough of Red Bank celebrates and recognizes the many accomplishments and contributions of its citizens and employees who identify themselves as members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community. And whereas in 1993, New Jersey became the 5th state in the United States to ban discrimination based upon sexual orientation, whereas in December 21st, 2006, Governor Corzine signed legislation granting gay statutory rights of married couples, making New Jersey the 3rd state to do so. And whereas in 2007, New Jersey became the 9th state in the United States to ban discrimination based on gender identity and expression. And whereas on October 21, 2013, New Jersey became the 14th state to allow same-sex marriage, and the first to do so in the wake of the landmark U.S. Supreme Court decision struck down the Defense of Marriage Act. And whereas the Borough of Red Bank has taken measures to prohibit discriminatory policies and practices based upon sexual orientation and identity in the areas of employment, housing, and public accommodation, including the adoption of a resolution supporting equality and civil rights for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender Americans in July of 2009. And now, therefore, I must call Madam Mayor of the Borough of Red Bank to hereby proclaim the month of June 2017 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month in the Borough of Red Bank, and we ask our citizens to join us. Resolution 17141, right?
Yep.
Be it resolved by the Mayor and Council, authorize the payment of bills amounting to $1,119,712.89.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Any old business? Any new business?
Just one item, Mayor. I just wanted to acknowledge that Councilman Whalen had requested of the mayor that he remove 2 members of the parking committee from tonight's public presentations by our RFT respondents and replace us with council members of his choosing. We have obliged but have not yielded our seats on the parking committee going forward.
Me or you? Well, first of all, the way our council system works and committee system works, everyone is appointed to a committee. The normal practice is if members of that committee, for whatever reason, choose or cannot attend or designate others to attend, that is their right and privilege without giving up their seats. So that's not a question. Secondly, if any other members of the council are so inclined to replace those 2 members, if those 2 members don't wish to sit on that committee, that is up to the members of the council. I mean, we don't live in an age of indentured servitude where I force people to sit on committees other than those committees which I forced them to sit on when I appointed them in January. So if 2 don't want to sit, that's fine. If 2 want to take their place, that's fine. But I'm not going to be a dead mother.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'll just make one quick comment so we can get on to the after the meeting. I asked Councilman Zippert and Councilman Yingstrom that I thought, I actually emailed the mayor saying I thought it would be appropriate for Councilman Yingstrom and Councilman Zippert, that it'd be appropriate to not to sit up here during the presentations, given that they made up 2 press releases saying that they were staunchly against all proposals. So I thought, given that since 2 people were against them from the beginning, why not give other council members an opportunity to hear these proposals that had an open mind? So I thought it was in the benefit of the residents, the business community, and everybody else, to at least have people that we asked the developers that were here tonight to spend their time, their money, their energy, and their resources to create something for us, and we at least owe it to them, since we said yes, to hear them out. So tonight we were just hearing them out, and I just think it'd be appropriate to have the people who are willing to hear them and not make premature statements before we at least get to hear from the public, the businesses, and the people we asked to come here tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Any new business? All I was saying is that there are 3 seats open. Whoever wants to sit in those 3 seats are fine.
I hope the whole council stays. I mean, anyway, we're going to move this board in front of here, so it's easier for everybody.
The Open Public Meetings Act requires that if the entire council stays, there must be a public comment session during the presentation. So because it's a committee meeting, there will not be public comment at the after council session. If you have everyone here, then there has to be public comment.
And I just have one question, I guess, for the attorney is, last year when I was with Gene Cipriani as a borough attorney, we ran into the similar instance where there was more than 3 people, or more than a quorum in the same room, and she had told us that if you had 4 people that weren't conducting council business or discussing council business, they could sit in the audience as residents in here. So we went through this exact same process last year, and it was okay if we're not speaking about council business, which I don't think we will be, since we'll just be listening.
Because the notice meeting of the entire governing body, which there's 2 different There's 2 different things you're referring to. So the council can be various places, like the mayor's hall, or unadvertised public meetings, or happenstance encounters a restaurant, or any myriad of Halloween parade. You can name the myriad of circumstances involved in together. The Open Public Meetings Act comes into play when all members of the governing body are invited. There is an intention amongst them, or an effective majority, to discuss public business. So Ms. Cipriani is correct that 7 of you can be in a room at the same time. However, given the nature of the advertised nature of the meeting, the clear notion of public business being discussed, and the indication from the parking committee that they want developers to give their proposals, and then public comment would come at some later date. If you have an advertised meeting of that nature in the Act, you have to have public comment at it if all of you are here. Now, you can argue that if everyone's sitting in the back of the room and doesn't say anything, that it's not a public meeting. But for me, in my perspective, as I'm sitting up here, I think that's really skirting the spirit of the law to have all 7 people here that not have a public meeting. So I think it's appropriate just for the committee to meet, or whoever takes the 3 seats of the committee after this meeting.
Thank you.
Does that clarify or not?
No.
Okay. Any other old business or new business? Any other old business or new business? No? Okay, audience.
Watching that one with you.
Mr. Forrest.
Working? Hello? Does it work now?
Yeah. There's a question.
Ben Forrest, 16 Locust Avenue. I'm just going to comment on Mr. Whalen's report and congratulate him on the 5 proposals, the parking committee. I personally supported seeing what happens, seeing what the requests are, and I'm kind of pleasantly surprised that there are 5. This is our first chance to say anything about it because it didn't come out. I'm glad that you put them on the website so we could all look at them and download. We didn't have the benefit of seeing them as long as all the council members have had. I guess my concern is that there are some of these redevelopment issues for a while. There's been controversy and debate, and I don't want to relitigate and re-argue some of the points that I've made earlier about some things. But I think that we have the
Take a
biggest...
step back, like a step or two, you probably heard it with the speaker and it's going to feedback.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Anytime. So, it's so important that we get this right that, you know, I just hope we take our time. We listen to our attorneys and our redevelopment people. We don't change rules. When we make a decision, you know, we live within those rules. I think if, and I'm not sure I'm supporting any of those proposals yet, I'm going to listen tonight and ask more questions at whatever forum the mayor, you guys deem for, we can ask specifics about these various proposals. But I wouldn't be very happy if it turned out to be, you know, a 3-3 vote with the mayor breaking the tie. I think we're going to do something this dramatic. It is big. And we're talking about, you know, really the question is how much do we want to urbanize our hometown here? And, you know, it's been happening for a while. It's not just this. You know, piece by piece. And there's pros and there's cons. And everybody knows what they are. There's a lot of details, a lot of moving parts, and we can't undo this thing once it's done. So I would really rather that we have much more of a consensus and that we agree that this is really the way the town should move forward, and it helps everybody, helps the downtown, and the residents can live with it. You know, and it is kind of shocking. It's a very big thing to see. I'm struggling with it when I look at it and see how many, and whatever, 12 stories, 10 stories. I mean, there's a lot of debate on the internet how tall and high and big it is. But just the most important thing is to take our times and really get this right and pay attention to the details so we don't have litigation and everybody is as relatively happy as possible. Not everybody's going to always be happy, but this is big. Thank you. That's my comment.
Thank you. Bill?
Bill Brooks, 77 Tower Hill Avenue. Mayor, I'd like to ask the attorney a question, a point question. Do RFPs and RFQs have the same adherence standards for bid spec compliance?
This thing gets me every time. No, they're not the same thing.
Difference would be?
Sure?
Yeah.
So for example,
Please.
these are requests for a proposal, so you're providing a specific proposal to do something. Of course, for qualifications, is presenting your qualifications where you're presenting, I'm qualified to do what you tell me to do, perhaps assignments to be made later. Both of those fall under section, well, in the traditional contracting sense, section 5 of the local public contracts law is an exception to the bidding rules. And then a bid is, and there's other, you can relax the rules for RFPs and RFQs. Bid is strict compliance. You have to comply with bid specs, and low bidder wins, and low responsible bidder wins, I should say.
All right. So that would explain why some of the heights that we're seeing over the original RFP, which was between 5 and 8 stories, are significantly higher than that. In some of the proposals, we haven't heard everything, but that would be allowed under an RFP rather than a bid.
You know, without seeing you have to forgive me, I'm the borough attorney. There's a redevelopment attorney that will be sitting in my seat when this is
fair enough. I was just curious if you know.
It depends on what the RFP says. If the RFP says that the governing body or the ultimate decision maker in that process can relax the requirements in the RFP, then you can, then that would be okay. If it's strict compliance, then it's not. And I don't know which this RFP is, but I'm sure that...
Okay, fair enough. That answered my question. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Bill.
Yes, sir.
Next, Mr. Lavetti.
Yeah, I see that. Well, I'm shorter though. Tom Lavetti, 45 Elm Place. Quick question, because it's my understanding that before the next time the council meets, our case against Hackensack Meridian will be going before a judge. Is that?
No, but may I address that without getting into too many specifics?
Yeah, I was looking for an update. I
As a
heard,
matter of
I have an
fact-
email from the tax court saying that the date is 6/22.
It's
That's
an
all.
ambulatory date, but I have to tell you that you could do everyone a public service by getting on the phone tonight and calling Senator Beck, because she's on Councilwoman Horgan did, but we found out today that she's sitting on the committee that is considering legislation that would sort of create what the New Jersey League of Municipalities has called the most awful bill in this particular area, because it would make the state of New Jersey the recipient and the gatekeeper of so-called contribution tax by so-called not-for-profit or other institutions within that not-for-profit, in the hope, as they tell us all the time, that they would reimburse that money to the municipalities. I've heard that line before for 25 years, and the check never comes. So the bill is a bad bill. We're going to be opposing it. Municipalities are opposing it. It just came up this afternoon, but in answer to your question, I personally met with our litigation attorney. Very confident that our litigation attorney is top-notch. He knows the players, he knows the facts, and most importantly, he can apply the facts to the law and the numbers. We're in good hands, but no, that is not a firm date.
Okay. Thank you, Mary Matt. And if there's anything the public can do, make phone calls, like you said, or if you need us for the case, please feel free to reach out to the public.
Every state senator, but we're fortunate because we have our local state senator that actually is on that committee, so I think she would understand that, and I'm sure she does. So you
It's
can.
different than the legislation that was proposed last year that was pocket meter?
It's different, but I think this isn't much better because, again, it makes the state the recipient of the collection basket.
Okay. Well, thank you for the update. I thought it was time sensitive because of this, the 22nd. Thank you.
Anybody else?
For the record, Mayor, that bill is Senate Bill 3243.
If I could just add one point to that, here's why it's important that you call, and the mayor's absolutely right. Once the state gets that money, they're going to keep that money. They're doing it right now with funds that the utilities pay that are intended to be collected by the state and remitted to us. For the past few years, they've held back about $1.7 million from Redmond. So if they would remit that to us, for example, we could cut municipal taxes immediately by about 15%. So what we don't want is we don't want the state collecting the money and then saying they'll give it to us, because I don't like our chances of getting the full amount due to us. So please make those calls. Thanks.
One of the reasons the administrator just sent me some more feedback from the league as well as our council. The bill, which is S3243, includes the issue of what is a bed tax, which is an extraordinarily infinitesimal small amount of money that is calculated in these state bills. But most importantly, it takes out all of the provisions and the protections that were granted by AHS versus the Township of Morristown that gives municipalities the right to challenge the various assessments and essentially reverts into a formula, which again, not only is the formula misplaced because it's crumbs from the table, but most importantly takes out a number of elements of a budget of a eleemosynary not-for-profit institutions like hospitals, which right now are really not open to discussion, which are essentially funds that go to different elements and takes it off the table. And thirdly, and most importantly, it sends the check to the state. So we're going to add a resolution, if it's okay with the council, after the public session, and we will add that resolution voicing our opposition. So we'll get that out tonight, too. Any other members of the public? Yes, Alan, Mr. Placer.
Alan Placer, Hobby Master, 62 White Street, RBBA board member. In regards to the garage tonight, I just want to remind all the council members that this is still a fluid, ongoing process, that the 5 proposals, they even look big to all the business owners. But from what I understand, and I'm sure Mike will correct me if I'm wrong, any of these proposals can get edited. You can ask any of the developers to chop 10 stories off the top of any building. So it's a fluid process. To close our ears to it now, when we ask these people to spend tens of thousands of dollars on their proposals and come in here and present them to us, to turn our backs on them is rude, and it stops the whole process. The Republicans killed this process 10 years ago in a political football. Let's not have the Democrats kill it in a political football. This is about our livelihoods and about the way this town is going to grow in the future. So please do stick around, be part of the process, and what you don't like about the garages, submit your changes to. Don't just shut the door before it goes to vote. It's you guys that are voting on it in the end.
Thank you, Mr. Bush. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Andre Bondi, 109 McLaren Street.
Why don't you come on up, sir?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, sir, she didn't get your name.
Andre Bondi, 109 McLaren Street.
Mr. Bondi, that's good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a comment about, excuse me.
Brown hair the last time I saw you, and I had hair.
Yeah, it's been a while since I came before this body, and you're the only one who was there at the time. I have a comment about the quality of traffic enforcement, and I think that the growth of a large facility could aggravate the problems that I'm seeing. For instance, there are 2 illegal parking spots on the right-hand side of White Street as you approach Broad Street, where just before it becomes narrow, and I regularly see cars parked there because people feel that they can't be bothered to go around the corner or whatever. I don't want to impute motives to them, but it strikes me as lazy, and I've never seen anyone being asked to move. And it causes congestion, and we have a large parking lot there, or a large garage, that's going to be aggravated even more. And I have a PhD studying congestion, so I know whereof I speak. And I'm also concerned about the quality of traffic enforcement because of stop signs that are more honored in the breach than in the observance. Thank you.
Dr. Bondi, thank you so much for your comments, and I'm going to be calling you on the second point that you raised. I'd like your input on a couple of things.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to be any other quick comments and questions? Mr. Myers.
Thank you, Mayor. William Myers, Palmama Street. I have addressed the council in the past with an outline from a precast parking garage, and I finally got something in writing with diagrams and numbers on it. I have 7 copies. I'd like to.
We're not going to be reviewing it tonight.
Okay, I understand, but I'd like.
You should submit it to the administrator so it can get our planners review.
Well, can I hand it to the administrator now to hand out to council?
Yeah. It's just, we're not going to digest it now, is what I'm saying.
It has numbers, and I just indicate to the council quickly that the 3.4 million.
By the way, is that, excuse me, Bill, is that the so-called Bowers proposal?
No, it's similar. It's similar.
Okay.
They're both precast.
So we're not going to be considering it because we can't as a part of the process.
What I'm saying is.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
What?
Because we have an active RFP, we're considering those proposals like we return any other market.
Well, it's not a proposal. What I'm.
Bill, we're not going to consider it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just be clear for the public. Mr. Myers spent the time to come here, and I want everyone to understand. So the RFP proposal closed on April 7th, so the council will not receive any of the proposals other than the people who met the deadline, whatever the nature they be. And it's been the borough's practice since April 7th to return anything received without reviewing it, in deference to the 5 applicants that filed within time. So that's the issue.
Follow up?
Yes. I'm not submitting it as a proposal to be considered. Why I am handing it out at this point is as a yardstick to compare what you're getting and what you can do versus what you have in front of you. And since I understand that you have the right to turn all these proposals down and redesign this, I think if you don't have a yardstick by which you can compare it, you're really kind of operating in the dark. That's the purpose for it, and I don't see a reason why it can't be. If you don't know what it costs to build a parking garage, personally, I don't think you really can evaluate any of these projects.
Without getting into the detail, the committee as well as the council and the public will be privy at some point to the recommendations and reviews by not only our auditor but also by our 2 engineers on this project, and those calculations and empirical data will be there. So yeah, we do have information. It's not that you're looking in the dark. Okay?
And Mr. Meyer, nothing would preclude you at that point from coming and saying, I see what those numbers are, and this is what I think. And that would be your way to get it across. In terms of accepting additional paperwork, we just can't. There's a pending litigation about this project and a number of different concerns.
Frankly, this should have been part of the public discourse in the very beginning before we went out and spent a lot of money on this redevelopment thing. Because if the simplest and best solution is overlooked at the outset, I don't think you're doing the public justice.
Anybody else? Yes, Mr. Pico.
Cal Pico, 42 Waller Street. I'd just like to ask a question of everybody as a point of clarification for the public. I've seen this this acronym used here and there, called a pilot payment of taxes and pay one time. Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. And I just would like a qualification what that actually means. And of course, I apologize if that's going to be addressed during the presentations. But just conceptually, I mean,
the borough attorney is going to answer that.
Okay, sure.
Just a quick nutshell. So a payment in lieu of taxes is a agreement between the developer and the township or the borough to make a payment in lieu of an annual tax assessment. So it has a couple benefits to the developer. That amount of money is typically less than the property would be assessed at. And number 2, it gives the developer certainty in the process as to what the taxes will be paid at the end, because typically properties aren't assessed until they're finished. And if you're going to build a multi-million-dollar project, you might want to know what your assessment is at the end. And I'm sure there's plenty of developers in the room who could explain other benefits to them, why they use them or entered into them. But in a nutshell, that's what it is. It helps projects get off the ground. Now, in terms of, I can describe it as not paying taxes on the property or a tax, it can be described as a tax abatement. But it's not a tax exemption, it's not a forgiveness of taxes. It's simply an agreement between the town and the developer in redevelopment area in need of redevelopment or redevelopment zone, that the developer agrees to pay a certain amount of money rather than their fluctuating assessment under the APA agreement.
And no decisions have been made on any of that.
Right.
None of that is on the table.
Generally, for how many years does that go out? Does that go out for? I mean,
it can go it's anywhere 10 to 20 years.
But it's a limited period of time.
Yes.
Yes.
Because
so
at one point it's going to be regular rateable property.
Yes, and also the way they're structured. I mean, the borough has some now, and I can tell you that the one I most recently dealt with was it's a percentage of the taxes that would ordinarily be assessed. And then it's a climbing percentage over the course of years, and then it ultimately reverts back to the ordinary assessment.
Thank you, because I think something like this is obviously something that is of interest to the residents, and people in the real estate industry and people who sit on the council. It may be second nature, but for the rest of us, it's kind of new to us. So I think it's important to kind of get a feeling for what the impact economically on the town is going to be, and I thank you for your...
The most common question, it's the most least understood process, principle, mechanism in the government. I get the question in every town that I'm in.
Great, thank you very much. And Mayor, I have to say, I love that guy.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Scott.
Fred Stone, 16 McLaren Street. While we're talking pilots, do the other stakeholders in tax collections, the school districts, the county, the library, share in those pilot payments, or are they exclusively to the town?
The other taxing entities do not. It is exclusively a payment that's negotiated with the town.
Oh, thank you.
There is I believe there's a bill pending though that might change that.
There's a bill pending that makes provisions for that, but again, none of that has even come up at this stage. Premature.
Thank you.
Anybody else? If not, Motion to close the public hearing. So moved. Second? All in favor? And additional resolution 17-142, which is a resolution that expresses the municipality's opposition to Senate Bill 3243 that seeks to establish conditions with respect to the AHS versus Township of Morristown tax court case. Motion? Second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any other resolutions based upon that? Is there any need for an executive session? I don't think so tonight. Okay. Motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor? Thank you. And the parking committee will reconvene.